Thursday's Times has a story on a novel strategy to eliminate the scourge of smoking, Diane. It actually says the scourge of smoking, Diane, there, but I think there should be a comma.
No, definitely a comma is missing.
Yeah.
According to the Times, the smoking age should go up every year to deter young people. And apparently this is a review ordered by Sajid Javid. And it's a New Zealand model. Now, the way that it sounds to my mind is that every year it goes up by 1 year.
Essentially, if you're too young to smoke, you will always be too young to smoke for all your life.
Yes, you'll always be like 1 year behind.
And your slightly older mates will be like, you can't smoke.
It's sort of like being like a racehorse. It's sort of always kept a little bit in front of you.
Yeah.
But you'll have to sort of go into newsagents. I'm 46. No, I know you're 45.
There's got to come a point, hasn't there, which I've seen a lot of people discussing going, OK, if you're 16, you're allowed to join the army and give your life for your country, but you're not allowed to buy tobacco. That's ridiculous. Well, that is one debate. But I think it's more like when you get to 27 or something. I mean, nobody's, let alone 35, who's going to ever show their age ID after a certain point? You just refuse to do that, wouldn't you? Which I guess is what they want, but...
Well, yeah, definitely. They want you to do that. And the irony is also that smoking severely ages your skin.
Yes.
So if you can never quite reach it, you'll always look young.
If you can just get the fags, though, for when you're 16,
then
you'll look 18. By the time you're 17, you can get ahead of the pack. The danger is, obviously, with these things, is that tobacco is available freely on the continent. It's quite easy to smuggle over. There's been a fairly sort of profitable business doing that. If they make tobacco too hard to get, it's like when they put the tax up on vodka too much in Russia, sales drop until it gets to a certain point, and then people just start making vodka in the bath, and they become insane and blind. You want to avoid that if you possibly can.
The backstreet tobacco scene.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you remember, you've seen them in plastic holdalls in pubs and so on, being walked. If you go in Wetherspoons a few years ago, there was always a fellow walking around flogging 200, cartons.
I don't go in pubs, so it's wrong demographic. Ask me about CrossFit. I'm a fascist on this one issue. I totally admit. I'm known for my sort of libertarian stances, but this one, I hate smoking so much, I actually just would ban it, and my base would hate me. I have a base, but they would hate me. But I just
replace the base,
because even in my building, my neighbour is very nice, but the smoke comes up, it gets in your house no matter what you do.
It is filthy.
It's horrendous, and the only problem is I don't want to be on the same page as Jacinda Ardern in any way, so I'm conflicted.
Well, you are, but I think it's probably just it's a human flaw, Nick. We've been waiting for one to open up. You're an impeccable carapace. I think it's quite interesting. I'm just going to drop this in. Roy Castle, you remember, who died, I think it was about 20, 25 years ago, and it was his death which he attributed to second-hand smoke.
In the jazz club.
Which proved the tipping point, and the legislation came in shortly afterwards. And I had a friend who was in the pro-tobacco lobbying group, Forest, at that time, and he said when Roy Castle died, that was the end of it for us. We knew we'd lost, which I find quite heartwarming, because although it was obviously awful that Roy's life was cut short, he was the presenter of Record Breakers, one of my favourite shows growing up, all about the Guinness Book of Records. And his death is unquestionably, surely, a world record-breaking sacrifice, probably the single most important civilian death in the history of health legislation.
Wow, yes.
That one man dying has saved thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands of lives.
Way of looking at it, I thought about him as well, researching his story. I forgot to say, because I remember that famous picture with the cigarette stubbed out on his head. But I thought of it because, as comedians, it'd have been horrible to do clubs if people could smoke in them. So I am grateful for that.
I did it for a few years. It was awful. If you went in with a sore throat, you came out feeling like death.